What's up, Sim Racers? Larry, TJRSim here. Today I just want to do a quick review of the Logitech G Pro wheel. I have a much longer review, more detailed in comparison between this one and the fanatec. Check it out if you're interested in a more longer review. No BS, just straight to the point. But this is a much shorter one. Just give you a brief synopsis of what's going on with this wheel. Let's get on with it. All right, here's how you turn it on. Push the button. Wait for it to dial up. There we go. Now you have a choice of PS5, PS4, and PC. We're going to click PC in this case. The wheel will do a self-center. And boom, there you are. Now you have a choice of different displays here. I'm using the live torque display, which means it gives you the live torque as you turn the wheel, which is pretty cool. You can show that in game as well. And push this button here. I can switch easily to different profiles. What's really neat about this is you can name your profiles. So this one is, for instance, I have Forza Motorsport 8 and AMS2 and GT7, and the other 3 profiles I just have blank. But these are the 2 that I've been using mostly. But it is a really nice little feature. So we're gonna go with AMS2. Here you can adjust your strength. Pretty straightforward, up to 11 newton meters. Your true force, which you want it on, which for the games that allow you to use true force. Force feedback filter, this is really nice on the fly to be able to use to knock out the high frequencies. I'll put that back down to 0. I generally run with none of that. Damper I usually leave off, but if you need to edit weight, there you go. Angle, of course. Brake force is how much kilograms of force you want to apply to your brake. So when I push my brake, distance, I have it on 55. So if I've lowered this down to something less, let's see, like 48, that means it takes less wheel travel for me to, brake travel for me to reach that peak. But I'm gonna go back up to 55, which is what I usually like. Put that in. Then you got your left paddle and right paddle. Both of them, you can set them as an axis A and B, gas, brake, clutch, handbrake. Same for both. Clutch bite, you can set your clutch bite here. RPM mode, outside in, inside out, left to right, right to left, custom, all the way to 5. So I do outside in, RPM brightness, that's self-explanatory. All right, for the wheel itself here, the very tactile feeling buttons here. Not the most high-end buttons in the world here, but they are adequate. They get the job done. This rotary dial here is pretty good. It has a very good feedback as far as indentation as you scroll through here. This bottom left one is a little too soft for my liking. It does have some indentation on it, but it's really easy to scroll through. I use this usually for traction control because I can just flick it. This one I usually use for brake bias. PlayStation button, of course, to activate for your PlayStation, and all your normal PlayStation buttons are set up here. Pretty nice wheel rim here, nice leather. Doesn't smell like leather, but it is a nice feeling rim. The stitching kind of gets in your way of your finger, so I do recommend gloves for that because it does kind of dig into you a little bit. And the wheel rim itself, as far as size goes, is great, but I find that it's a little bit too skinny from ID to OD, which pushes into my hand because the wheel itself isn't very softened up as you would get in some of the other higher end wheels. But for a basic wheel, it is pretty good. Now the star of the show of this wheel, in my opinion, are the paddle shifters here. They are by far the best paddle shifters I've experienced with a stock wheel, especially one that just comes out of the box, say like this Logitech series or the fanatec ones that come stock. Very, very good, very tactile, very strong, magnetic, Hall sensored setup. Same with the lower paddles. I love that it comes with the lower paddles that you can set up as axis buttons like we saw in the menu, or clutch, brake, handbrake, and so on. Keep note that this, when you set this as your handbrake, GT7 does recognize it as a handbrake, but most other sim racing games, whether it's on console or PC, do not recognize it as a handbrake, which is quite a pity for the rally games. So you are getting sold a little bit of BS there. All right, onto the pedals. So the pedals, pretty efficient pedals there. The pedals are pretty efficient there. We'll zoom in on them real quickly. The spring kit on here is too light from the beginning, although I suggest you switch out the clutch spring with to the throttle spring, throw the throttle spring away, and then the clutch spring, I would replace it with the spring that's marked with a red mark, which would be the heaviest spring to use. The brake also has a elastomer kit that comes with it, which is awesome. You can switch these out very easy, less than 30 seconds to switch out springs and elastomers. So yeah, really like that. As far as braking performance, because it's really what we care about, is that it's very hard to trail brake. So you know, you can obviously smash the brake to where you want to full pressure, but to ease off that pressure, there's not enough spring back, even on the hardest settings, because it's very wooden feeling. So it's very hard to feel the elastomers where they're releasing the pressure. There's really hardly no spring back to them. So very difficult to trail brake with these, but they are adequate pedals. They're good enough for console racing, but if you're doing a competition racing, I'll say iRacing, or you're just strictly a PC fan, I would look elsewhere. These are not gonna make you happy. All right, performance. When you're playing this on Gran Turismo 7, the real star of the show is the True Force that's built in here. This is a very good game changer as far as True Force goes. It's very fast reacting rim. It's a very smooth rim, and the as far as finding the edge of grip when you're on the track through the corners and stuff is super easy to do. Again, this is a direct drive wheel, so that is to be expected. Most direct drive wheels do it really well, but this one is no surprise that it does very well as far as feeding back the information to you to be able to drive in a much faster way on the track. When you add the True Force to the scenario for Gran Turismo 7 or any other game that will allow the True Force software on it, it does shine a little bit more. I find with the True Force, you're getting your shifts, you're getting your engine RPM, and your track textures, and then of course curbing. Curbing is usually built into the game anyways, but where it really adds the additional effects is, in my opinion, is the track surfacing and the shifts, and then obviously RPM. It really needs a slider for all those individual settings, in my opinion. I would love to see that in an advancement later on, because I would really like to turn up the feeling of the track over the RPM, and also the shifts as well. But all in all, for Gran Turismo 7, this is actually a game changer. It is a much better experience using this wheel, say, over my Thrustmaster TGT2 wheel. A lot more headroom with 11 Newton meters of force. It is adequate enough. It isn't overkill by any means, but it is enough to get the job done, although I do desire more in a lot of cases, especially for cars that are road cars that don't have much downforce to begin with. The wheel is pretty light and lacking some force feedback, but that's more to do with the game itself than the wheel, in my opinion, because when you put this on the ACC or even F1 2023, this wheel, and AC is for that matter, a set of course, that this wheel really shines, and it's a beast at that. Now, when you transfer over to PC gaming, this is a very good, more accurate feeling wheel than it is on consoles, just because your degree of resolution coming through the wheel is much better on PCs. But yeah, I love it on Forza Motorsports, AMS2, ACC, all of those games. It feels great. It's not enough. It isn't a decline from my AccuForce V2, which is a 13 Newton meters of force, continuous force, and 16 peak. It is less. There's less feedback in this compared to my AccuForce, but I wouldn't be bothered to switch between the two if I am in the mood to be doing some console racing within the same weeks, and then also doing PC racing. So if I'm someone that switches back and forth between the two, I wouldn't be bothered to switch back to my AccuForce. However, if I'm doing some racing online, I want a little bit more force in my feedback, and I would definitely stick with the AccuForce over this one, even though this one does actually have a faster rotation and a smoother feedback. But the AccuForce does promote a lot more torque at every indication when it needs a torque. When the torque levels go up from track excursions or curbing or just from the road surface textures itself, it is more pronounced over this one. Again, though, it's 13 Newton meters compared to 11. However, that is like 7-year-old technology compared to 1-year-old, right? So that's a good comparison between the two. All in all, great wheel choice to use for console combination. Really, the only reason to get this wheel and the pedal set is for consoles. Someone that wants to play consoles all the time and then dabble on the PC later on, this is a great choice. If you're just strictly a PC player, look elsewhere. There's much better choices on the market, in my opinion, than going with the Logitech Pro wheel. All right, well, I hope that answers most of the people's questions, and until next time, I'll see you on the track. I'm out.